HOA Karen's laugh was a hyena's cackle, sharp enough to make the clinic's peeling paint flinch. She stood at the counter, her too-tight lab coat straining, waving a forged medical license like it was a royal decree. "You think you're smarter than me?" she sneered at the trembling elderly woman clutching a prescription bottle. "Pay up, or I'll make sure you never get your meds again." The room stank of desperation and antiseptic, a perfect stage for Hoa's latest con. Her sister, Lynn Karen, equally smug and twice as loud, barked orders at a young man in a wheelchair, demanding he sign a waiver for a procedure that didn't exist. The sisters had run this scam for years: fake credentials, fake treatments, real cash. But today, their patient wasn't just a patient. He was FBI, wired up, and every word they spat was being recorded. The clinic was a dump, a squat brick building on the edge of town where hope went to die. HOA and Lynn had turned it into their personal ATM, preying on the sick and desperate. They'd forged medical licenses with the finesse of a toddler with a crayon, but their arrogance made them untouchable, so they thought. The elderly woman, Mrs. Nguyen, was their latest mark. She'd come for heart medication, her hands shaking as she handed over her last $200. HOA pocketed it without a glance, her chunky gold rings glinting under the fluorescent lights. "Next time, bring more," she said, tossing a bottle of sugar pills at Mrs. Nguyen. The old woman's eyes welled up, but HOA was already turning to her next victim, a young man named Javier, whose wheelchair squeaked as he shifted uncomfortably. Javier had been in a car accident 6 months ago, leaving him with chronic pain and a dwindling bank account. Lynn hovered over him, her perfume choking the air. "Sign here," she demanded, thrusting a clipboard at him. "This experimental treatment will fix you right up. Only $5,000. Javier's jaw tightened. He didn't have $5,000, but he needed hope. Lynn's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Don't waste my time, kid. You want to walk again or not?" The pressure was suffocating, and the sisters knew it. They thrived on it, their egos fed by the power they held over the vulnerable. Across the room, the undercover agent, Marcus Reed, sat quietly, his hoodie and jeans blending in with the other patients. His heart raced, but his face was stone. The tiny mic taped to his chest was picking up everything, every threat, every lie. Marcus had been tracking the Karen sisters for months, following tips about their fraudulent clinic. The FBI had suspected they were fleecing patients, but the extent of their cruelty was worse than anyone imagined. Marcus had posed as a patient with a fake back injury, feeding HOA and Lynn just enough to keep them talking. Today was the day to close the trap. The conflict erupted when Mrs. Nguyen, her voice barely above a whisper, dared to question HOA. "This medicine, it's not working. I feel worse." Hoa's eyes narrowed, her jowls quivering with indignation. "You're lying," she snapped, stepping closer to the frail woman. "You just want a refund, don't you? People like you are why I hate this job." Mrs. Nguyen shrank back, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Javier, watching from his wheelchair, couldn't stay silent. "Leave her alone," he said, his voice low but firm. "She's sick. You're supposed to help her." HOA whipped around, her face a mask of contempt. "Oh, look, the cripple's got a mouth. You think you can talk to me like that?" Lynn chimed in, her voice dripping with venom. "You're both ungrateful. We're doctors, and you're nobody." The word doctors landed like a slap, and Marcus felt his blood boil. He leaned forward, feigning pain, and muttered, "You sure about that doctor thing?" His tone was casual, but the question hung in the air like a guillotine. Hoa's head snapped toward him. "What did you say?" she demanded, waddling over with a finger pointed like a weapon. Marcus met her gaze, his calm unnerving her. "Just wondering where you got your license," he said, his voice steady. "Didn't see it on the wall." Lynn laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You think you're some kind of detective? Get out before we call security." But Marcus didn't move. He knew the truth was already spilling into the FBI's servers, every word a nail in their coffin. The tension broke when Mrs. Nguyen dropped her bottle, the pills scattering across the floor. She gasped, bending to pick them up, and HOA laughed. "Look at her, crawling like a dog. Pathetic." Javier's hands gripped his wheelchair, his knuckles white. "You're disgusting," he spat. "Both of you." Lynn lunged forward, ready to slap him, but Marcus was faster. He stood, his hoodie falling back to reveal the glint of a badge. "FBI, you're done." The room froze. Hoa's jaw dropped, her eyes darting to the door like a trapped animal. Lynn's bravado crumbled, her hands fumbling with the clipboard as if it could save her. "You can, this is a mistake." Hoa stammered, but Marcus was already signaling the agents outside. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Mrs. Nguyen looked up, tears streaming down her face, but there was a flicker of relief in her eyes. Javier's shoulders relaxed, a faint smile breaking through his pain. The FBI stormed in, cuffs gleaming under the flickering lights. Hoa tried to run, her bulk knocking over a tray of instruments, but there was nowhere to go. Lynn screamed obscenities, her voice cracking as reality hit. The sisters' empire of lies collapsed in minutes, their forged licenses confiscated, their bank accounts frozen. Marcus knelt beside Mrs. Nguyen, helping her gather her things. "You're safe now," he said softly. She nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. As the sisters were dragged away, Hoa's cackle was gone, replaced by a pathetic whimper. "We didn't do anything wrong," she cried, but no one listened. The patients, once their prey, watched in silence, their fear replaced by a fragile hope. Javier wheeled himself to the door, pausing to look at Marcus. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Marcus nodded, his job done, but his heart heavy. The sisters had hurt so many, and the scars would linger. In the aftermath, the clinic was shut down, its doors boarded up. Mrs. Nguyen got her money back, along with real medication from a real doctor. Javier started a support group for the sisters' victims, turning his pain into purpose. The Karen sisters faced trial, their lies exposed to the world. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anger and vindication. Hoa and Lynn sat side by side, their smugness gone, their faces pale. The judge's gavel fell like thunder, sentencing them to years behind bars. The community began to heal, but the story of the Karen sisters lingered as a warning. Arrogance and greed had built their empire, but truth and justice tore it down. Marcus moved on to his next case, but he carried the memory of Mrs. Nguyen's grateful eyes and Javier's quiet strength. The world was messy, cruel, but sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys won. The end.